research and discovery. Futurists.
An appointment she wouldn't want to miss. Every year in the Netherlands, women aged between 50 and 75 undergo a test for breast cancer. Basic mammograms are at the heart of early breast cancer detection. But in the Netherlands today, digital mammograms are replacing traditional techniques. For the patient, the method of taking the image remains the same.
For me it was the same than normal. There was not a different feeling. It was a little bit painful, but we know that it so is, and it is a short time, dus it doesn't matter.
Although digital, the mammogram is produced in the normal way. But then with the new MRI technique, it's then possible to enhance it, change the contrast, for example, to look deep into the tissue. Radiologists can easily send the image to other experts to examine. In the Netherlands, they've launched the new system across the country.
We have a rollout at this moment of a digital screening system. So paperless, digital workflow and digital images. So we store centrally and we use everywhere the same standards. We have a standardized way of working all over the country.
Around 80% of women in the Netherlands now routinely have digital mammograms. The results have been impressive in the fight against breast cancer.
Dankjewel.
Ja, oké. Prima. Tot de volgende keer.
Tot ziens. Dankjewel. Oké, daar.
There's a significant rise in the detection of breast cancer compared to the analog system. That's not only in the early form with the calcifications, the so-called DCIS, so the very early form of breast cancer. It's also in the small invasive tumors.
Each year, 1/3 new cases of breast cancer are detected in the European Union. Doctors are not sure of the causes, but are all agreed if the disease is detected early, the chances of survival are much higher. Digital techniques are at the forefront of early detection. In Bremen in Germany, at the Fraunhofer Mewis Institute, they specialize in medical imagery and computer analysis. They're at the heart of the Hammam project, which brings together the basic mammogram, enhanced with 3D ultrasound and other electronic wizardry.
The task for the radiologist is to extract the relevant information from this large amount of data within a very short time and with a high accuracy. The computer can make new images from the many images to see all the relevant information on one view where you would have many views, or the computer can analyze the images or even quantify the images to help the radiologist to assess the information.
Here they analyse the mammograms. Their computers draw in all other information like ultrasound and help radiologists assess whether cancer is present or not. Horst and his team work to process all the information.
One goal is to bring together all the information on one workplace, to be more efficient and to enable new combined assessment of the different data. If a woman, for example, had a mammography and a breast magnetic resonance imaging, an MRI examination, this new workstation shall enable a joint diagnosis of these two.
Back in the Netherlands, in the town of Nijemgen, we're in the University of St. Radboud. Here they use the techniques pioneered at Bremen. It's cutting-edge breast cancer detection through MRI. This morning they're looking at women who are judged to have a high risk of developing breast cancer because the disease runs in the family. This patient is 59 years old and has an MRI scan every year. It's relatively expensive, but it saves lives.
She has actually an expectancy in her life to get a breast carcinoma, somewhere between 60 and 80%. With MRI, we know that we see about 20% more tumours than with mammography and ultrasound together.
There is a downside to MRI. The computer can sometimes detect anomalies in breast tissue and give a false reading of breast cancer where there is none. But doctors agree MRI comes into its own when it comes to analysing difficult cases. It's in this field digital techniques can make a huge difference in coming to an accurate diagnosis.
One technique is not enough. MRI is much more sensitive than mammography, but then there's another problem. One of the ways breast cancer can express itself is by microcalcifications, some casting calcifications you can see on a photograph. And you can't see those calcifications on an MRI. When I have patients with multifocal tumors, with 3 or 4 tumors, every time I have to send things over there and to look at it. So I would like to have everything in one workstation where I can do this type of parametric imaging, have my ultrasound there, have my mammography there. That would be terrific.
Radiological researcher Nico Kasemeyer works alongside doctors in hospitals using groundbreaking computer techniques to help in the diagnosis. His scanning methods are on the cutting edge of early breast cancer detection.
As you can see, this is a very wide transducer. This is pressed on the breast, and the scanner moves in this direction and makes in that way a three-dimensional ultrasound of the breast. It's much more efficient, much quicker than what's used with handheld ultrasound. The big advantage of this system is that it's much cheaper than breast MRI. And it's, if you compare it with mammography, this is harmless because it's sound waves. There's no risk for the patients with harmful radiation. The current state of art that we can detect cancers earlier by imaging, but it may be possible that in the future blood tests or other simpler methods are discovered where we can more effectively detect breast cancer earlier. And it might also be possible that much better cure for breast cancer is found.
The women of Nijemgen wait their appointment for a digital breast scan. They are, in their own way, pioneers. And arguably, they're helping all women of the world fight one of the most deadliest of diseases.